Mara Measor is a passionate singer, songwriter, and actor guided by her Christian beliefs, but she recently combined her love for the arts with writing to pen the book Naked Prayers, a message that offers hope during the highs and lows of life. Welcome to the Harvest Show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you know I have to ask you, how did you come up with naked? Is it naked or naked?
I say naked. Free to say whatever you want, but I think just sort of this idea of really stripping down, really in prayers, no frills, no pretend, no trying to be something you're not, which I think took a surprisingly long time for me, myself, to figure out.
Okay, so, but you are a singer at heart, a singer and songwriter, well-accomplished person. You are there, and I guess you went to NYU. You really studied music and what have you. So how did you make the switch from, you know, writing music to writing a book? But you actually, you combine both of them together, right?
Right. Well, I think the way I kind of approach my work is I kind of go project to project and see what is best for a specific project. And I think this one, sort of coming out of a time of a lot of ups and downs, I saw that my writing was kind of the centerpiece of this. And it was actually the first time where the songs complemented the writing. So the book was sort of in the middle of it, and then the songs came alongside.
When we look at Naked Prayers, if you think of the Psalms and the psalmist, the songwriter, writing these not necessarily eloquent all the time, but very heartfelt and emotive, you know, words on paper. What were some of the highs and lows that kind of influenced some of the prayers we find here?
Well, I think in my own life, you know, this story kind of covers my own life a few years ago when I went through a period of depression. And I think during that time, it was really exactly the Psalms that was probably the only part of the Bible that resonated with me. And I think, you know, I was kind of struck that I'm not the first person to love God, but, you know, struggle to want to be alive, to, you know, David has some very strong words. And I think I just kind of saw my struggles mirrored in him. And I think I see that high and low in my own life, like in David's, of having highs, but also just moments where living's kind of difficult.
Well, you know, when Christians, there are some Christians who are like, what, you're depression and you're a Christian? I mean, how do you reconcile the two together? The subtitle was Honest Confessions to a Loving Creator. So, you know, there are people who are pondering that question, how I could be in this dark place and still understand that God is so good and He loves me.
Well, I think I was one of those people that kind of thought, well, you can't really be depressed if you love God and know that He loves you. There must be something you're doing wrong. And I think I was kind of struck when I was in the middle of it, of like, oh, you can still feel this way and really know and believe that He loves you. And I think for me, it did come to being honest with Him, confessing my own misconceptions and realizing that my misconceptions, I sort of had developed so many of them in my own walk with God, and having to sort of shed those, which again, I think goes back to just getting naked, metaphorically, before God.
What were some of the misconceptions that were revealed in your journey and your kind of walking through this process? I
think a big one is that following God is not being God. Like, I want to be Christ-like, but I'm not Christ. I'm still going to mess up. I'm still going to have a great Sunday and a horrible Monday, you know? I'm still going to go through these cycles. And I think I had this misconception that the longer I'm following Him, the more perfect I become, which was not true. Not true at all. Yeah, I think that was a big one, that I'm not Superman, that following Him doesn't.
So that had to be really liberating to find out that you don't have to be perfect, that His grace is sufficient, and that you can live this life, and you will have some ups and downs.
Right. I think it is liberating. I can tell I kind of still want to have control.
Oh,
and
yes.
I still feel that struggle inside where I still like, no, I want to be perfect. I want to get everything right. I want every day to be, you know, all good things, and it's not.
Okay, so you have a section that's called Do Something, Lord. Forgive me if I'm praying a stupid prayer. Forgive me anyway because I sin against you too much. I hurt you too much. I don't want to. I want to live. I mean, wow. Explain those words.
Well, I think in the midst, that was really at one of the lowest points where I was just like, I don't even know what to say. And And I think in that one prayer, I said, do something maybe 10 times. Because I'm like, if you don't do something, I'm going to do something crazy. So that was kind of at the core of what was going on. I was just like, please act. Otherwise, I'm so lost. And I think I do want to live, but it was also, if he doesn't heal me, if he doesn't show up in some way, I don't know if I could. So I think that was really sort of the essence of the desperation I was in during that time.
Yeah, and I'm going to say funny enough, but maybe not funny enough, but those feelings are not unique to one or two or three people. I mean, it's a very common thing, even as you're walking in this relationship with God, walking through the life of faith. Now, you did kind of return to a positive place. What was that process like? And for someone watching today that's kind of just stuck in just that dark pit of despair or depression or whatever it may be, what would you say to them?
I think for me it was two things. One was letting things take time. We're so bad at that. We want to be fixed right now. We want to look at one book and find a formula, or look at a picture and feel better and never feel bad again. So I think letting it take time, and I think the other, sort of with that tagline of just being honest. I think sometimes, especially Christians, because God is so good, we don't want to say that we're not doing well. And so I think being honest with God, and then being honest with other people, being like, yeah, I had a terrible week. And then being honest about needing help. I think for me, it was a huge challenge to get counseling. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian home, and I think getting counseling was kind of synonymous with like, there's something very wrong with you. And this is like, and it wasn't that, it was great. It's just somebody coming alongside me and listening to me. And it wasn't some weird thing. And that was another misconception I think I had, that this was like, oh, now I'm like a crazy person. So I think being honest and letting things take time was key for me.
Well, things certainly have turned around for you. You said you've been a newlywed now for what, 1 year?
Just about it, yeah, just over a year.
So what would you like to say to people who are listening today who may be in that place of, feeling like this life is hopeless, or this is a hopeless situation that they're in? I know with the recent terror attacks, that creates anxiety for people. What would you say to them?
I think for me, what I want to say most is that you're not alone, which I think we know, but when we're in the middle of it, we just feel so alone. It's like, but nobody understands, or nobody knows that about me, and if they knew that, then, I'm going to be cut off. But I really believe that none of us are alone. God is always there, and then there are people around you who care, who want to be there. And I think sometimes we have to learn first to trust God, and also to let God move through other people. I know for me, when I was in the middle of it, I wanted God to sort of have lightning strike and walk into my room and just fill up, and things will never be the same. But in my own life, I think he moved through the people around me. He moved through my husband, moved through my counselor, and just friends being kind. So I think to trust each other, that community can help you maneuver through.
So before I let you go, what's the one thing you discovered about yourself as you saw the light at the end of the tunnel? What did you discover about Mara?
I think I discovered that I'm more childlike than I think. I mean, this book is half filled with doodles. I didn't know that, that's apparently when I get stripped down, it's these little stick figures.
But, I mean, the Bible tells us about childlike faith, right?
Right, and I think we all have that. I think when we sort of let that professionalism, let that Facebook profile, let all those things fade away. Sometimes we just want to draw. We want to be like, God, all I want to say today is do something,
Well, thank you so much, Mara, for joining us and just being vulnerable and helping other people with your story. To connect with Mara, go to marameasor.com or go to harvest-tv.com for a link to her new project, Naked Prayers, Honest Confessions to a Loving God. Coming up next, Brian Bush with Israel's reaction to the recent terror attacks that have rocked Paris. We'll be right back.